It had been 10 years since Michael Myers first made the scene. The Halloween filmmakers wanted to bring him back in a big way. And they did.
Halloween 4 really was the rebirth of the franchise. I bought back all the rights myself, and I did launch number 4 on the basis of going back to the basics, the original Halloween, Michael Myers. And I had lucky to have a good director also.
I was doing a picture in India, of all places, called The Bloodstone. I was cutting that movie. I heard about Halloween 4. Halloween 1 was a real favorite. It came out right when I was in film school, so I was hyper aware of it, very aware of John Carpenter. So I had my agent pursue it, and I think what captured Mustafa's interest was that I was making a movie that was not dissimilar from Lion in the Desert or some of the things that he had done. And I think we sort of bonded over that.
Little turned to writer and fellow Cleveland native Alan B. McElroy.
I'm a fan. I mean, and what I wanted to do was see a movie that I would enjoy.
Alan and I started with the town of Haddonfield. We were fascinated by this town. We wanted to go back there and then make the characters grow out of the environment and then create a journey for Michael that was all kind of plausible and it's in its own odd sci-fi kind of way.
The Writers Guild was about to go on strike. Basically, I had 11 days to come up with a story, write a script, and get it to them before the strike started. Dwight and I talked about it. I came up with an idea for the project and wrote a script and got it to them literally hours before the Writers Guild went on strike.
We wanted Halloween to be Halloween, meaning leaves everywhere, water everywhere, wind everywhere. I had grown up in the Midwest, so I knew exactly what it was meant to look like.
We did that one in the springtime, so there were no leaves. We had to import leaves, and of course there were no pumpkins. So we had to make pumpkins out of big squash and paint them.
But before cameras could roll, they had to find faces for the characters in the script.
We went to New York to meet Danielle Harris because we had seen a tape, and of all the girls we'd looked at, her initial casting tape had just jumped out at us.
Her eyes, to me, always very important because we're going to see fear through her face.
I actually started the industry by doing beauty pageants when I was a little girl. I was like 5 till I was 7. Got my first job when I was 7 on a show called Spencer for Hire, back in the day. And then I did a soap opera for 2 years, One Life to Live for ABC, and did the 2 Halloweens in those two years when I was doing One Life to Live.
To win the role of Jamie, Danielle had to face down a rival with her own supernatural mojo.
And it was actually between myself and Melissa Joan Hart, the girl at Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And the two of us met at my agency's office with Dwight Little, and he wanted to see if I could scream, and he wanted to see if I could cry.
She was very smart and very precocious for her age, and yet was completely innocent and vulnerable.
I thought she was a midget, you know, I mean, she was so good.
So by the time you came to the end of that movie, it was so astonishing and so flabbergasting that, you know, the touch of Michael had been passed on to her. That I think it really creeped people out.
To see innocence affected and or corrupted by evil is ultimately the most terrifying situation for any audience.
The other plum role, besides Michael, of course, went to Ellie Cornell.
She wasn't a bimbo. She was smart, and she didn't always get the guy, but I thought she was likable and kind of a girl next door.
Well, I don't want to come on too strong. A guy hates a girl that comes on too strong.
Ellie walked into the room, and on camera you could tell that she was just a girl from Haddonfield. Everything about her was natural. Everything about her was un-teen beat. There was nothing Britney Spears about this girl.
How about this afternoon I pick you up from school and we go get ice cream?
Double scoops?
Double scoops.
Then
let's get some breakfast.
Chemistry with Danielle created this kind of sisterly bond that was really locked you into the movie.
Obviously, Danielle and I were pretty inseparable.
For the shape, the Halloween team chose a stuntman who would be up to the rigors of the demanding storyline.
George Wilbur had not only the physical presence, he had a body language which had a lumber in it, which is what we were looking for, the way he moved.
A guy walking around with a mask scaring people, anybody can do that, but to be active as a stuntman, I think that's what they were looking for, somebody with that kind of experience to be able to do the physical things that Michael Myers was required to do.
I think we kind of deliberately stayed away from George.
Veteran actor Donald Pleasence returned to the series for a third time.
I'd assume Dr. Loomis would be here. Michael Myers is still his patient.
There wasn't anything that Donald wouldn't do.
Michael!
He really is a very kind, wonderful man, was a very kind, wonderful man.
He was Blofeld in You Only Live Twice. I mean, one of my favorite lines is You Only Live Twice, Mr. Bond, and it's, you know, his line.
I think one of the press was asking him, when you going to stop? He said, well, I said, I cannot go on. I have to stop on 22.
Halloween 4 is noted for Dwight Little's inventive filmmaking.
I, basically lifted the vertigo shot, which is where the grips measure the dolly carefully for time, and you're whipping the camera back on the dolly while simultaneously the operator has figured out each focus point and the timing on the power zoom. So he's zooming in at the very same pace and speed as the camera's pulling out. And what happens, of course, is the image remains the same size, but the background kind of implodes behind the actor. This is an old Hitchcock trick. This is nothing I invented, believe me.
The movie's most technically challenging sequence was the now famous rooftop chase.
Yeah, it was scary as hell just watching it, watching the stunt people in the real location.
The house itself was very high, so the entire roof was built by this, the art department, about, 4 feet off the ground. But even then, the peak of the roof was still 18, 20 feet high.
The scenes on the roof where I'm climbing up with Jamie on my back, at one point I caught a nail right in the torso, zip.
Blood everywhere. And she got right back up and started working again. Didn't even faze her.
We kept trying to add obstacle after obstacle, like that the tiles would be so wet that you'd slide on them. And any kid who ever crawled around on a roof understands how precarious that is. Or you try and get your hand on it, and you can't get it. So it creates that nail on the chalkboard feeling. It's a scary thing without Michael Myers.
As a stunt guy, it was kind of a normal situation. Running around on the roof was something in itself. The only scary thing about it was looking down.
Now add to that mix this maniac, and yeah, I think we thought about it first as a scene, a thriller scene without Michael, and how would it be scary alone? And now, once we've really figured that out, let's add Michael to it.
Believe it or not, the filmmakers were careful to take it easy on their young star.
I was 10. I had my 11th birthday on the set.
But we didn't want to scare her too much, But at times I made a point to take my mask off in front of her a lot to let her know that this is all make-believe. It's only me, George, doing this. I'm not the real Michael Myers.
We made sure that I knew that he was my friend. You know what I mean? And then certain things were fake, and he wasn't going to hurt me, and because I was a little girl.
Another key sequence that taxed both filmmakers and actors was the climactic pickup truck fight.
It was a kind of a dangerous situation, but everyone that I threw out of the truck were professional stunt guys, so they knew how to hit the ground.
He just was a real experienced stunt guy.
We had huge plywood planks under the truck, and they were just jumping on it, to make it look like I was driving the truck. Again, when his head comes down, it was creepy.
But the long hours and constant night shoots were beginning to take a toll.
There was one night we were shooting, it must have been just before dawn, and Donald Pleasence gets out of a cop car, and he looks around, and everywhere he looks, he sees Michael. And we were shooting this sequence all night long. He spent the whole movie without a hat, but it was so cold that night we shot about 12 takes with various cameras. Now we had script supervision, costume, wardrobe, camera departments, myself, all these people watching him. and he had done half the night's work in his wardrobe hat that he was just wearing to keep warm, and we were all so exhausted, nobody noticed that Donald Pleasence was wearing a hat through the entire night's work, and in fact his character didn't wear a hat in the entire movie. You know, we had to go back and reshoot all that to take the hat off. Not a funny anecdote, but a painful one.
Along with the fatigue, there were a few light moments.
The bedroom sequence where my hand comes out from underneath the bed to grab Danielle Harris. Well, anybody, while I was under the bed setting up for the shot, anybody that came by that bed, I made a point to reach out and grab their ankles to make up people, anybody, they just jump.
The ending of the movie really came a lot from Alan. Alan was so angry at Michael Myers by the time he'd finished writing this script. And Michael was such a picture of evil at this point. And we'd set up that we were hunting, back with the preacher, that we were hunting the source of evil. We were hunting the devil himself.
You can't kill damnation, mister. It don't die like a man dies.
What Michael Myers or the Shape represents is death. I mean, death cannot die. So he's representative of that, of how we face our own mortality.
We just wanted to unleash a volley of hell. It's sort of like Gladiator, you know, on my command, unleash hell. And we wanted to take Michael down in such a way that it would seem impossible that supernatural or otherworldly or whatever he is, it would be impossible for him to come back.
After production wrapped, one final element was needed.
I had just finished doing Prince of Darkness with John Carpenter. I got the call from Paul Freeman, so I actually turned around to John and I says, "John, is it okay? You know, if I go ahead and do the Halloween 4?" He says, "Oh man, go for it."
You have to go back and tip your hat first and always to John Carpenter, because without those thematic elements, those identifiable chords that make Halloween Halloween, the picture, any of the Halloweens would be lessened. I mean, it is musically one of the most brilliant pieces of music ever composed for movies.
All right, move him.
And Alan Howarth took those ideas and then built on them.
Melissa says, "I got to have my Halloween music." So I said, "No problem. I've done Halloween 2 already. You know, I did Halloween 3 with John, so yeah, I'm pretty sure I can bring this forward." I was in rock bands. I was a 60s, 70s character, a major hippie type. Actually my band was an opening act for The Who. We opened for Cream. We opened for Steppenwolf. So that all floats around in my head. I really took a chance to go with sort of really subtle atmospheres, and trying to say ghostly things and set the tone for Halloween before we ever got to Halloween theme. So you don't really hear the ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba maybe till 4 or 5 minutes in, when finally in the sanitarium Michael Myers gets away again.
The finished film was released on October 21st, 1988, and was an immediate hit.
Number 4 was 2 weeks #1 in the nation.
We went to Westwood and decided to watch Halloween 4 with the crowd, and it was, it was a packed theater, and there was a line out the door. I mean, it was just, it was so exciting. And I remember in the ladies' room after the movie theater, after the movie, I kind of hung out like, did they recognize me? Just to see if they'd be like, wow, that was Rachel Carruthers. But of course they didn't.
After I had done Halloween 4, I dressed up as Jamie in my clown costume and knocked on doors with scissors in my hand in my neighborhood back in Howard Beach in Queens, which was quite interesting. Everyone was freaked out.
I think the durability of the franchise, I think it has to do with the durability of the boogeyman, the Shape, Michael Myers. The fan base tells us that they seem to grow up with this. I guess everybody wants that scare. Why do they want it? I don't know.
I had studied, before I made the film, the mythology of Halloween. It's a harvest event, and it comes out of the end of October and the end of the harvest season and the onset of winter. And we started to find design elements that would create a title sequence and a mood that was authentic, not to Halloween the movie, but to Halloween the event. You can spend $200 million or $120 million, but it's not necessary. It only matters, any of the hardware, any of the effects, any of the digital, any of our tools that we have to make movies are only valuable if there's something at the center of the story that the audience is pulled into. And I think that's the lesson I try and take with me from Halloween.